Okay, so now let's talk and understand some of the concepts before we get into the actual practical around the energetic body. Now, I first discovered this, in part training with my master, because he would work with mind and chi, but it wasn't very clear as to what that was. So I really discovered more about it when I started learning about the etheric double, or the energy body, from the Researchers of Truth in Cyprus. Now, I discovered their teachings around 2007 when I was in Hong Kong, and I had questions in my mind. Firstly, I was curious, extremely curious about developing the internal power of Wing Chun so that I could manifest it the same way Qigong did. And I was also very curious about my spiritual life, about the teachings of the Christ in particular, because I grew up as a Catholic, went to church, didn't really go to church much later in life, but I had an affinity and a good feeling towards Christian teachings. So I wanted to know, okay, was the Christ real? Now, those were my kind of things I was doing. Like, I was just developing my Kung Fu and practicing my spiritual life. Yeah. So I had a question in my mind. I was like, was the Christ real? Because I had some friends at the time, and I also watched some content that said that Christ wasn't real, it was made up, this, that, and the other, and I'd like to keep my mind open. So I was like, okay, that's what they think. But a part of me didn't feel right about it. Might have been my programming, who knows? But I had a question. Was the Christ real? Right? And it was kind of a burning question. How do I develop mind force? How do I develop internal power? And was the Christ real? That was kind of my things at the time. Now, so I started to think about it. I remember I was thinking, and I was like, how would I actually find out? That's a very difficult thing, right? I can't time travel, I thought to myself. I can't go back in time and experience the life of Christ and be like, hey, yo, that's cool, if I can walk on that water. I couldn't do that, right? I didn't have a time machine. The second thing that I realized I wasn't able to do was to be able to do what he could. Because there was a quote that says, you can do these things and much greater. And I was like, well, I can't exactly raise the dead yet, and I can't heal people, so obviously that's not going to reinforce the teachings for me. But the idea came to me that if I could find someone who could, then that might validate the actual teachings and make it verifiable, right? Because a part of the teachings as well is to seek the truth, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. I didn't want to skip the middle step. You look for the truth, you know the truth, you understand the truth, and then that truth sets you free, right? So I thought to myself, okay, I'd like to find someone who can do these things. Now, literally, I think it was a few days later, I was walking home on an island I live in Hong Kong. I lived on Lama Island. It was a lovely little island off Hong Kong. You get a little ferry there. Anyway, so I get off the boat, and there was this guy called Lama Nick. He used to sell, he had a long beard and long hair. He's probably still there. If you're watching this, Lama Nick, you rock. He used to sell secondhand books, and I used to walk past him on my way home pretty much every day. And I was walking past him one day, and I was like, "G'day, Nick," and then I remember just stopping and looking at the bookshelf, and there was a book on the shelf which caught my attention. I picked the book off the shelf, and it was called The Magus of Strovolos. I'm like, that's a weird title. I flipped it over, and it started describing a Christian mystic and healer who was doing things like Christ could do. And I was like, no fucking way. So I paid the $5 or whatever it was for the book, and I went home and I devoured it. I didn't actually eat it, I read it. Yeah? So I read the book, and I started to actually practice. There's some meditations, and it's about a Christian mystic healer in Cyprus, which was a lot of his healings were documented. Anyway, I read the book and I started practicing some of the meditations, some of the exercises in the book, and I started to get really deep experiences on both an energetic and even spiritual level. For example, I was sitting on the boat on the way to training one day, and my body felt gigantic. I felt like I was maybe 5 times bigger than I was, to the degree that I had to actually open my eyes and check. So I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Anyway, so those experiences really started to make me feel like, hey, there's really something to this. So I reached out to the Researchers of Truth and eventually ended up going there in 2009 for a seminar, and then moving there in 2014 to study with them for approximately 5 years. Now, what I learned there was on the track of one's own spiritual upliftment. Understanding oneself, understanding life, learning how to meditate, learning how to observe, learning how to visualize, learning how to concentrate, learning how to introspect, learning all these different keys to one's spiritual development. Now, one of the key components of the teachings, which you can find in many different spiritual teachings, is the fact that we have an energetic body. Now this started to shift my way of thinking. This started to get me into a new paradigm of experience, in the sense that I stopped thinking in terms of physical force and I started thinking in terms of energetic and mind power through the teaching I was practicing there. So they outlined how to use the energy body in alignment with your emotional and mental body so that you can heal. It was mainly about healing. And for those who wanted to go deeper into that teachings, you can just Google it, Researchers of Truth. There's a lot of, there's a good website of it as well, and there's books too. I'd suggest the Magos of Strovolos because it gives you like a good story to kind of know how it all evolved. But the point is, in relationship to internal power, in relationship to you developing that from Kung Fu, it taught the energy body. Yeah? Also the actual higher bodies, the emotional and the mental body, but the energy body is the starting point. Now, the energy body has several components, different types of qi. You know, when I would ask people in Hong Kong, you know, what is qi or how do you develop qi, often they would just say, ngom zi, we're like, I don't know, or feng sung, just relax. Like, so they tell you to relax and you discover the qi, or, you know, tell you that they don't know. So I didn't really get much satisfaction for the theoretical understanding to develop that part of the training. It was a very vague and mysterious, so it was hard to digest or tap into. However, the Cypriots had another approach. They described it precisely so that you can actually start to use it and understand it in an extremely powerful way. So we're going to go deeper into each part of these different types of energy, yeah, or ether, or chi, or prana, or frequency, or space. Call it what you want, it's there. What the point is that you want to know the truth of it. You want to begin to experience it. You want to begin to align with it so that you can start to express it. So, in summary, you have an energetic body. You have a physical body, and you have an energetic body. The energetic body is the mold for the physical body. So if we cut my arm, another arm doesn't grow outside of the hole where the cut was. It heals back into the same formation. There's something that keeps it all in a good, let's say, condition and space, the same as everything else. So everything has energy or an energetic frequency alongside of its physical shape. What we're trying to do is align with, attune with, become conscious of our energetic body. Now, in that energetic body is mapped out the meridians in traditional Chinese medicine, and the Hindus call them chakras, the energetic centers. So there's different, let's say, components to this energy body. We're going to be working directly with the different types within the energy body that relate to your thoughts and your emotions. You have sensing energy, the ability to sense the space you exist in. Sense the space and the energy, so not the physical body. They're different things, but they're together. Moving energy, or known as sinking qi, or sinking energy, or tam, so the movement of energy. And also the visual energy, how you have images within your consciousness in attachment to any type of thought or emotion. So those types of energy are within your thoughts and emotions, and you can experience that right now as you think about someone you love. You can see them in your mind, right? Exactly. So that's the visual energy. So these are the three basic energies you're going to start to work with. There is more as you develop, but if you can't connect to the energy body, if you can't connect to the basic levels, then you're not going to go from kindergarten to university in one step, so to speak. So, the understanding of the etheric double, the energy body, came from my training with the Researchers of Truth, and also study into other bits and pieces here and there to verify, and also through meditations that I did. Those understandings have been filtered into the way we practice so that we can bring out your internal power in a faster and better way, because you understand on a mental and theoretical level what you're trying to do / achieve, for lack of a better word, and also what the experience is itself. So that's a little bit of information on the energetic body. We will be doing a lot more of this throughout this course. Also, I've filtered these teachings into the step-by-step curriculum as well. So, this course is purely for those who want to go deep into internal power, deep into the mind force, the Nim Tao, the Nim Lik, call it what you want, but cultivating and manifesting that internal power for your Kung Fu, your martial arts, and for your life. So, I hope you found that helpful. Any questions, chuck them into the community. I'm sure someone will be able to help you, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.